Long back sweaty.
Okay, so we want to find the inverse of this function. So we want to switch what? What two values do we want to switch? Find the inverse. What did we just do on that last problem? The x and the y. So what is the y in this equation here? Yes, good. First one today to recognize that. Good job, Dexter. The y, the g of x is your y. Let me write that in red. So we want to interchange now our x and y. So we're going to rewrite it, switching the y and the x. And then we need to write that equation in terms of y. So we need to isolate the y. So what would we do next to get y by itself? Plus 5 on both sides. X plus 5 equals 3y. What next? Divide by 3 on both sides. So we want to divide both of those by 3. What's the number in front of x assumed to be? A 1. So this is going to be 1/3 x plus 5/3 equals y. So we want to write it in inverse notation. So it's a g of x. So we're going to write g inverse of x is 1/3 x plus 5/3. Another one, number 2. So let me call on a group. Let's see. This group here. What's my first step? Before that, we need to figure out.
Oh, I got it.
There's somebody in this group. So we need to do something with the g of x.
Oh, you turn into y.
Yes. So y equals 5/2x plus 5. And then what would the next step be? Look at you. What's going to be your group unless you just said it before? You have somebody in your group to say it?
Oh, I think it's x equals 5/2y plus 5.
What's my next step?
That's the next step. You did another one. You did the same exact.
So my next step is I want to get my.
Oh, step 5.
Oh, I see. That's what you're saying. So
I have to.
Sorry, you said that. I just didn't recognize that you had said. I was listening for switch your x and your y, but you just said it verbally. So now we want to isolate the y. So what would our next step be to isolate the y?
Again?
Somebody else in the group. You answered the first 2 questions.
Can I answer again? Let's try 5.
Yes. Okay, next step, I want somebody else in the group on this one. So we got stop. So we want to isolate the y. So what do we do to the 5/2? We can divide it by 5/2, or we can multiply by.
Oh, I'll raise my hand. By 2, multiply by 2.
Or we can, if we do it in one step, how can we do it in one step? 2/5. So we can multiply by the reciprocal, 2/5. So either way, you could multiply by 2, then divide by 5. This way you only have one step. So we get y on the right side because these cancel. And then we have to distribute the 2/5. So we get 2/5 x and 2/5 times -5. I'm going to do on the side.
I'm doing the rundown.
No, not right now. So when we multiply straight across. So this gives us negative 10 over 5, which equals negative 2, so minus 2. So in inverse notation, that would be G inverse of x equals 2/5 x minus 2. Okay, number 3. So I just did this math up here. So number 3, what's our first step for number 3? Back here. What do you want to do first? And so first we need to find, the f of x to y, is that what you meant? Okay, so we're going to make this y equals x plus 2 cubed. And then what do we do? Yeah, good. X equals y plus 2 to the third. So what undoes? So what do I do with that cube? What undoes that? Cube root, good. So we want to take the cube root of both sides. So that cube root undoes the cube, doesn't it? What the heck? So the cube root undoes the cube. So this gives us y plus 2 equals the cube root of x. Now to get y by itself, last step.
Minus 2.
Yes, minus 2. So we get y equals the cube root of x minus 2, or f inverse of x equals the cube root of x minus 2. Okay, number 4. Tell me what to do first on number 4. H of x is y. Somebody else in the group, what's our next step? Besides here. Not yet. We're going to do something with the x and the y.
Square.
Yes. Switch them, so it's going to be x equals the 5th root of y plus 3. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So now we want to get rid of that 5th root, and how do we do that? So what do we do on both sides? Exponent of 5, that's right. So x to the 5th. Oops. So the 5th root undoes, the 5th undoes the 5th root, so this becomes y plus 3. Notice on this one, the plus 3 is inside the square root. It's going to be something different than you tried. My last step. Subtract 3. So y equals x to the 5th minus 3, or h inverse of x. Go ahead and do the u try, please.
This is so much easier than the polynomials. Like, I will like do so good on this test. It's gonna like reverse my bad grade for my polynomials. I think it's like the absent thing, but it's okay. I can handle one bad test. I think. Wait, was it?
Yes, this should be an x here. instead of an n. Sorry about that. Switched it from an n to an x.
I could do them. It's x third, x to the third plus 1. X to the third plus 1. X to the third plus 1. Right there, did you get x to the third plus 1?
That's what I got. I think that shit. I'm better than you. You're not better. You guys never touched. Where's your show work? Oh, you can show work.
It's annoying. I'm delivering this right now.
Okay, once we get to this step here, this minus 1 is outside the square root. So we have to add 1 first. So we get x plus 1 is the cube root of y. So quiet please, I've seen a lot of you were taking the cube on both sides before you were adding that 1. So now to undo that, you're going to cube both sides. And then we don't need to do anything to that. We'll leave it as x plus 1 to the third. We're not going to simplify it. No reason to simplify it. No reason to do that extra work. Did you have a question? Okay, last one. So on number, we're going to do number 6. So my number 6 is over here, but that's your number 6. Okay, so with my first step, I want to graph them. So let's go ahead and graph that equation. How do we graph that? This group here, tell me how to graph that. On the where? So I see a 6 here and I see a 6 here. So the y-axis, yeah? Okay. And then what next? Going. So this is a slope of 2. So we're going to, in order to keep it on the graph, let's go down 2 and left 1. If you want to go off the graph, you can. You can go up 2, right 1. That's fine. So here's my graph. And now I need to find the inverse. So my next step for finding the inverse is doing what? What's that? Well, we're going to do it algebraically today. So we want to change that f of x to what? To y, that's right. So we get y equals 2x plus 6. Somebody else in this group? What do we do next? Somebody besides Jason. Thank you very much, Jason, for answering several questions. I want to hear from somebody else. What do we do next? Something with the x and the y. Yes, switch them. So x equals 2y plus 6, and then what next? Good. Subtract 6. X minus 6 equals 2y, and then divide by 2. So I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to simplify here and make this a 1/2 x minus 3. So that's f inverse of x is 1/2 x minus 3. Back here, tell me how to graph the f inverse. Oh, I already did it. So now we want to graph the f inverse. Yep. Why is that -3? Almost done. Just hang in there. They go from where? From there. Good. Go up 1, right 2. Down 1, left 2. So yes, we have to graph both of them. Your directions say to find the inverse, which we did. Here's the inverse, and then graph the function and its inverse. Okay, we good on that?
It's about the